Welcome back to the course on information security. We are covering another chapter called workplace security, or we can call it a privacy concern as well. The objectives of this chapter are: after completing this chapter, you should be able to do the following: define the privacy and explain the risks associated with unprotected private data, which is appearing on the private domain. So how can we protect it, and how can it harm our overall digital identity online? Then we'll talk about the cryptography. There are different techniques for that. And then we list the various ways in which the cryptography is used, explain how privacy best practices may be used, or describe the responsibilities of an organization regarding the protecting private data. Now, in order to understand it, introduction of the terminology of the technology has caused an erosion of our personal privacy. Before, it was a bit simple, since it wasn't a digital era where our information wasn't appearing online, and we had very much control on the information which was appearing on the social media or the public domain. But nowadays, after the advancement of the digital era, having the tools like Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that, most of the information is being displayed on the social media or the public platforms. Sometimes we have limited control on that. Most of the time, people are posting their own pictures on these platforms. Thus, they are risking their own identity online, where someone else would get access to those things and would be posting stuff, or would be trying to getting some information about you. Access to our private data may be used to quietly manipulate our behavior based on our interests. They might be sending certain advertisements to us, or there will be different ads appearing on our computers when we are accessing different websites. This chapter would also cover what privacy is and the risks that have been placed on it in today's technology. It also covers the ways in which we can limit the erosion of the privacy. Now let's try to understand what is privacy. Privacy is the state or condition of being free from public attention to the degree that you determine. It's up to us if we want our life to be public online or not. But with different websites and platforms, they are constantly collecting the data of individuals, where sometimes the information is being collected with your consent, sometimes it is appearing over there just by different forms or the different questionnaires that you fill frequently. Today, the data is collected on almost all actions and transactions that individuals perform, whether you are buying something from a website, or if you have rendered a service from any of the websites. In terms of any of the services that you purchase from them, they might ask you to fill a questionnaire where you'll be entering some information, and they might be asking you that please enter your email address if you want to be contacted in future. Rather, they'll be asking you for your mobile number and stuff like that. And once that information is entered, it's been collected by them, which they'll use for different advertisements or any promotions and deals that you'll be receiving, or that is announced on their websites. Now it's collected by web surfing, purchasing online, using different surveys or questionnaires, and by other sources which you might not be aware of. Data is then aggregated by the data brokers, where they'll filter out the information which is not required, and all related information to an individual will be collected together, so that it would be a refined information for you, and they'll be targeting that what are your likes, your dislikes, what kind of websites do you visit, what kind of things you're purchasing, and your overall movement. If you would love to go for entertainment, which parks, which places, which shopping malls and stuff like that. Since the pictures that are posted by us on most of the social media, they are also sometimes sharing the geographical locations or the GPS coordinates of the pictures and stuff. So once they collect all that information, they have the exact idea that where you're living and where you're moving about mostly. So all that information is then gathered together in order uh, to use it for different advertisement, or maybe they'll be selling your information to the parties who are interested in. Now, the risk falls in three categories for the privacy of data. First is individual, second is association with groups, and the third one is statistical interference. Individual inconveniences or the identity theft is used to direct marketing campaigns and to impersonate the victim for personal gain. For example, they might be collecting the details of your credit card, your social security number, and stuff like that. And they'll try to open some bank accounts or get some insurance, etc., using your identity, where someone else will be using it for their own personal gain. Association with groups, uses of personal data to places individuals in groups based on similar interests. If you're joining groups like Facebook or Instagram or different groups on Telegram, etc., so you are categorized that you are the person who's interested, for example, on computers, on GPUs, on different brands for fashion, etc. So they'll be segregating you based on those interests, and they'll be sending that kind of information to you, which would be a targeted marketing campaign. Now, if they are following those things, there are high chances that if you are interested in those items and you belong to those groups, you will for sure buy the products which are of your interest. Statistical interferences means that they'll have more in-depth information about you, your details, all the statistics about you, your monthly buying patterns, how much you are annually spending on shopping and stuff like that. So that's another way, the way they are collecting the information. Now here they are talking about different data gathering techniques and stuff. The data is generated and kept in secret so that users have the formal right to find out what private information is being gathered and who gathers it and it is used for what purposes. Then the accuracy of the data cannot be verified, whether if it's appearing on their websites it's 100% correct or not. They are just collecting the information. Identity theft can be impact on the accuracy of the data. Victims' identity theft is often information added to their profiles, whether it is right or wrong, or by filling in the surveys. Unknown factors can impact the overall rating as well. Then informed consent is usually missing or misunderstood. They'll be saying things like, if we want to use the information, we'll ask you or we'll get an express permission from you, but they are not getting your email address or mobile number or anything like that. They are just gathering the information by showing you these words. With the help of that, you'll be a bit more confident towards sharing your information with them. Then data is being used for increasingly important decisions. Private data is being used for ever increasing basis to determine the eligibility in significant life opportunities such as jobs, consumer credit card insurance, and identity verification, etc. Now, the privacy protections may be implemented to reduce the risk associated with the private data, and in order to protect it, we use a very common technique which is cryptography. By following the best practices of cryptography, we can secure our information to a level where they won't be able to get the personal details in a clear text format. The problem is the information that we are sending over on the internet is in a clear text format, so if anyone would capture it, they'll be able to understand and read it, whatever we are sending or receiving from the other parties. Whereas if we are using cryptographic techniques, we are encrypting our data, so even if it flows on the digital channels, they won't be able to decipher it, so our private and personal information would remain 100% intact. Organizations can collect the private data to have data have responsibilities, and then the cryptography. The first part of the cryptography, or to understand it, the meaning of a cryptography is scrambling, which is a Greek word, data that cannot be read, the science of transmitting the information into secure form, so unauthorized person cannot access the information. So the other step is steganography, hides the existence of the data. may hide the data in the file header fields in between the sections of the metadata on the areas of the file that can contain the content, may use the image or the audio files or the video files. So they'll get the data, they'll add it to the meta file of the image or audio file or a video file, and it would be transmitted over to the internet. Once the other person would receive it, they'll decipher it in order to read the message. For example, as you can see, that's an image file, but the message is hidden, which is a secret word. The message would be converted into a binary form, and then the metadata of it would be written on the image file in the and then in the body of it and in the header too, and you'll see a normal image at the other end. Whereas if you decipher this image, you'll find the metadata and all the secret password which was actually encrypted behind this image. Cryptography's origin is back to the centuries. Even the famous cryptography Julius Caesar's and the encryption of changing the original text into a secret message using a cryptography. Now, once we encrypt a message, there is an algorithm to decrypt it as well so that we can understand it again with changing the secret message back to its original form. Clear text data is the data which is unprotected, normal text information that flows on the internet, like in a plain text. Clear text data that cannot be encrypted. Also the result of a decryption. Plain text data is an input into a cryptographic algorithm consisting of procedures based on mathematical formula used to encrypt or decrypt a data. If we want to change a single alphabet to something, it would completely change the entire message of the text. So that's how they are using the mathematical calculations in order to encrypt and to decrypt the data. There is a special key, a mathematical value entered into the algorithm to produce a ciphertext. Ciphertext is nothing but an encrypted data of the information which is flying on the internet. In cryptography, unique mathematical key is input into the encryption algorithm to lock down the data. With the help of that, it creates a ciphertext which is which is in a text format, special characters or something like that. If you see it, you won't be able to read it, but it contains some critical information inside. Now, in order to understand it, just see this picture over here where a plain text someone wants to send it over to the internet. It would be first of all encrypted using an encryption algorithm. There will be a key for that, and the same plain text over here will be converted to a ciphertext, which is, as you can see, a number, alphabets, uppercase and lowercase characters. It would be transmitted to the other person, and the other person would use the key in order to decrypt the message and to have it in a clear text format. Now, the cryptography can provide 5 basic protections: confidentiality, integrity, availability, authentication, and non-repudiation. Now, confidentiality ensures that the only authorized parties can view it. Integrity is just to make sure that no other unauthorized person has altered the data in any way possible. Availability ensures that the data is accessible and is there. Authentication is provide the proof of genuineness to the user, and non-repudiation means the proof that the user performed an action. This is very important because it verifies that the other person, whoever is sending the document, is the one who has actually initiated the process. It's not like you'll send something and then you can claim that no, I did not send that document or anything like that. So non-repudiation usually verifies that it's the person or the right person who has actually initiated the process. In a cryptography, there are 3 major categories or algorithms. First is hash algorithm. Second one is symmetric cryptographic algorithm. And the third one is asymmetric cryptographic algorithm. For today's lecture, we'll be talking about only hash algorithm, and we'll be talking about symmetric and asymmetric in the next lecture. So let's see what is a hash algorithm. A hash algorithm creates a unique digital fingerprint of a set of data, commonly called the hashing of it. The fingerprint is called a digest. Is one way is that that its content cannot be used to reveal the original set of the data. Used primarily for the comparison, etc. Considering the secure it is, these characteristics should be of the fixed size, unique, original, and secure. Now, this technique of hashing is also used for the forensics analysis when we are collecting the hashes for the operating system in order to make sure that the data has not been modified. So once an operating system is installed in a clear format where the data has not been altered, especially for the operating system files, we usually take a hash snapshot of the entire operating system, which would give us a snapshot of all the hashes for the different files in an operating system. And later, if you want to compare that, if any operating system files has been modified as a result of a penetration in the operating system, we can easily find it out. That's the same thing they are talking about, that it has an algorithm and we have the a digital fingerprint of it, with the help of which we can easily compare that if the data is in the original format or it has been modified. As you can see that there is a digital digest for it, for any software that you have downloaded and you're trying to install it on your machine. A file will be downloaded as a digest would be generated for that, and then you can compare the digest which is appearing on the website, on the web server, and the file that you have downloaded in order to verify the integrity of the file. Once the digest would be matched, you can make sure that that file has not been modified by any means. I think that's it for today's lecture. We'll be talking about symmetric and symmetric in the next lecture. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a message. Thank you very much.